new car in here! Yes! Wait, what are those?
Man, Tom's my friend. And I was contemplating helping him in the future with his suit and stuff, and we were just going back and forth, but I think I would win.
I'll tell it to go on.
Ooh! The entire suit sits within the teeth of the necklace.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. Huge news. We just found out about Spider-Man's new costume that he's going to get going through Avengers 4 in Spider-Man Homecoming 2. Remember, Spider-Man 2 is going to pick up immediately after the events of Avengers 4. So obviously Spider-Man's going to have to come back during Avengers 4. We all expect him to come back. Mr. Stark, I don't want to go. So in addition to Letitia Wright talking about her and Tom Holland on the set of Avengers 4, talking about upgrading his suit, the person who in real life designs all the Marvel costumes and makes them was also talking about the next new costume after the Iron Spider costume. So we got to break this down. If you're finding me for the first time, be sure to subscribe to get all the Marvel videos. There's a new round of that Infinity War Blu-ray giveaway. All you have to do to enter that is be a subscriber and leave a comment on the video. So I'll start with what the costume designer said in real life confirming new costume, then I'll talk about Shuri and Spider-Man within the world of the Avengers. This sort of explains how they might go about doing that. So the costume designer is named Louise Frogley. She said, Marvel researched very thoroughly. They were very clear about the decision and decided it should go back to being pretty simple. As a young guy, he had this homemade suit, then he has this beautiful suit that Tony Stark gives him. So that's the original Stark Tech suit, not the Iron Spider one that he got during Infinity War. But then she goes on, when asked about Spider-Man Homecoming 2, that costume will have to have big changes because in the film, Spider-Man becomes more like a man, not a teenager. So obviously across these films, Spider-Man's getting older, and even though a whole lot of time isn't going to be passing between Infinity War and when he comes back, remember, there's a time travel element in play, so even if there is a time jump at the beginning of Avengers 4, I think when they fix everything, the timeline will sort of reset and everything will feel normal. It will almost feel like he's barely been gone. So Tony Stark, the Avengers put everything back in its place so that not everybody on the planet Earth knows that half of them were erased just a little while ago. That being said, most of the Avengers and the people that survive into Phase 4 will probably remember what happened. So not only will Spider-Man age physically, like because a little time will have gone by, but they're also saying that he's aging emotionally, like pretty much no-brainer. You go through an experience like that, it's going to age you up pretty quickly. So without speculating too much about what might happen to Tony Stark, what's been happening lately is that he's relied on Iron Man for guidance. Like, Mr. Stark, I just want to help. So he does what Iron Man tells him to do.
Previously on Peter Screws the Pooch, I tell you to stay away from this. Instead, you hacked a multi-million-dollar suit so you could sneak around behind my back doing the one thing I told you not to do.
Is everyone okay?
No thanks to you.
He has skills, he rebels, he tries to be a hero on his own. It usually goes sideways, but then he figures things out. But now going into Phase 4, he's actually going to have to learn to be the person that calls the shots. Then even further down the road, when he gets a little bit older, he'll probably mentor someone else in another Avengers film, like Avengers 5 or something like that. So it makes sense that if he's going to be going back to basics, he'll have a bigger hand in designing his next suit, the one that they're talking about in this interview. There's a little bit of footage that people are thinking might be promo for the new suit because this was done for the parks, so it's a slightly different version of the costume than the one that he wore during Spider-Man Homecoming, but it looks very similar.
Voilà, et on a vu un petit peu toutes les technologies et j'ai hâte d'aller à Disneyland pour découvrir ça. Au mois de juin, je vais y être.
So if you can't tell the difference between these two suits, the symbol on the back is very different, and the symbol on his chest is also much, much larger. Those cosmetic changes aside, the coloring looks pretty similar to Spider-Man Homecoming, although the blues on this were pretty light, so they might tune that down just a little bit. Just imagine them going back towards a more classic Spider-Man design with the technology that they've gained in the last couple of movies, which is where Shuri comes in. So Letitia Wright is saying, oh, me and Tom were on set talking about me helping him out with his suit. So what does Shuri do that Iron Man doesn't do? Because they both have the nanotechnology in the Black Panther suit, in the new Iron Man Bleeding Edge armor, and in the new Iron Spider armor. So they're already doing a lot of the same things, but I think what Shuri brings to the table is a more organic, traditional sense of style. And obviously part of what she's implying is that Peter will have input into what his new suit looks like. So he can say, I want it to look something like this, and she can help fabricate it.
Unlimited range, also equipped with audio surveillance system. Check these out. Remote access Kimoyo beads. Updated to interface directly with my send table.
There was a lot of discussion about who the smartest person in the MCU is. That's not super important for this. The big difference between Shuri and Iron Man is that tradition is a much more important part of her life in the way that she thinks about things than in Iron Man's thought process. He's the futurist. That was part of the line that Hawkeye used to make fun of him at the end of Civil War. Now, the whole idea of the Black Panther movie is that there's this war between tradition and looking to the future. So Shuri and T'Challa are just a much better balance of those two things. So I think that's where you get back to the more traditional comic book Spider-Man costume, is in her thought process. The thing about the Iron Spider armor is that it looks more like a Stark suit that just colored to look like a Spider-Man suit. It's genuinely built for battle, so it feels just way more hardcore than a normal Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man that he calls himself, would go. So imagine him going back to a version of the costume that works a little bit more like the Black Panther costume, looks less like armor, but still does all the same stuff that the Iron Spider costume did. From a practical standpoint, yeah, they want to sell action figures, so every new costume that they put Spider-Man in is another action figure that they can sell. So from a business perspective, that's the reason why he's in a new costume every single suit. So I think that he'll always have this Iron Spider Avengers costume. He can always go back to it, but it'll just sit there on a shelf until they eventually get to Secret Wars or some crazy big Avengers X-Men crossover where he needs a genuine suit of armor. A lot of you are asking about symbiote. I think the closest they'll get to that in the future is just building in multiple different modes to the one suit that he ends up wearing during Spider-Man 2, like a stealth mode, for instance. That's one thing we haven't done yet, although they did sell an action figure for Spider-Man Homecoming that did have a stealth mode, so maybe that was just an idea that they cut out of the film because they felt like they didn't need the scene. So let me know in the comments, what do you want them to do with his next costume? And remember, they're going to be shooting that movie this summer, so we will see what the costume looks like within the next couple of months. So what's going to happen is there'll be new Marvel later this week. Just leave all your requests in the comments below. There was a whole bunch of behind-the-scenes Infinity War clips that dropped, so if you guys want me to post that, just let me know in the comments. But click here for more Avengers 4, and click here for that teaser breakdown. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.